Welcome to the Just Motherhood podcast. I'm your host, Isabella, and I'm so glad you're here. This is a space where we come together to embrace the real, raw, and beautiful journey of motherhood. Here, we'll navigate the challenges of motherhood together, while I offer you support and encouragement to help you show up as your best self and to thrive in your role as a mom. Whether you're currently pregnant, adjusting to postpartum life, or you're a seasoned mom, you have found a community that gets it. So grab a cozy spot, maybe a cup of coffee, and let's get started. Hey friends, and welcome. Today we are going to be talking about finances, and I know that this can be a taboo topic, but it is my goal, like I said in my very first podcast episode, to help you show up as your best self in all areas. So this does include financial well-being, and the goal behind this episode is really just to help you guys cut back on your bills, cut back on how you're spending your money. This was something that was very important for my husband and I because bringing a new baby home, we only have one kid right now, but there's a lot of expenses that comes even just with one kid. And we did not want to be living paycheck to paycheck. We also didn't want to be the family that had to say no to certain things because we didn't have the money for it. This became even more important for us because we have been living on less than our full-time paid income for probably almost a year and a half now. Since my maternity leave started when I had my son in June of 2023, we already were living on less income than we normally were. I wasn't getting a paid maternity leave. I had a short-term disability policy instead, so I was getting paid about a third of my normal income. And then in August of 2023, my husband decided to stay home and I was going to return to work so that he could focus on doing courses to switch careers from being a mechanic to going into IT. And then I ultimately became a stay-at-home mom in February of 2024. And I do work part-time now. I do some part-time work mainly when my son is napping or like after he goes to bed at night. And our income is probably a little bit over half of what we used to make when we were both working full-time. So it's definitely still not anywhere where it used to be. And there's a lot of things that we've had to do to cut back on our bills so that we're not like stressed about how much money that we're making. But we also still have the freedom of, doing little things for our family or going out to eat when we want to. Like our dream is to still live comfortably, even though that means that we might have to make some uncomfortable choices at times. So I'm going to just run through 6 different things, just very practical, that my husband and I did whenever we went down on, I wouldn't say one income since I make a little bit of money part-time, but I'm just going to say smaller income. But this can apply whether you are also working part-time now so that you can be home with your child more often, whether you are a full-time stay-at-home mom and you're not making any money, whether your husband's staying home, like whatever your financial situation looks like. I'm just hoping that this can give you at least some insight onto how you can cut back on your bills so that you can steward your money well and live comfortably and not be having so much stress and anxiety about your finances. Some of these might be a little bit more rapid fire, and I'm going to just try to give it to y'all very practically. The first tip that I would give, which is hands down the most practical, like you have to do this if you are living, no matter what your income is, not even living on one income, no matter what your income is, you need to be doing this, but setting a budget and sticking to it. There is almost no money that my husband and I spend that we do not account for. We set a budget, we stick to it, and we try to cover our 4 walls first. We cover our bills, we cover our necessities. Then we go into things like groceries and, stuff like that we technically don't have to pay for, but, you still need to pay for it in order to live. And then we allocate our money out into extras and fun things and stuff like that. So sometimes there's not a lot of money for that, but we have so much more peace of mind knowing, okay, no matter what, we do have all the money for our bills and our necessities and the things we need to survive day to day. Like those things are covered. If we have to say no to eating out this week, we'll say no to eating out this week, but set a budget and stick to it. We really enjoy using every dollar. We find that it has been super beneficial for us. We've actually used it since we were newlyweds back at the beginning of 2021. So I highly recommend it. I think it's just very user-friendly. and definitely feel like it's a good way to track your money well. I'm also going to do an episode next week on how to save money at the grocery store, because I feel like grocery shopping is probably one of the biggest buckets where we can make a lot of difference in our budget, because a lot of it is determined on us or our family's needs. It's not based on, obviously there's prices we can't control, but what we do or don't buy is the biggest thing that we can control. So I am going to do my episode next week on saving money at the grocery store. The second tip that I have is to call your insurance companies or your insurance agent and see if you can get a lower rate, whether that is by changing your coverage. Like, we're looking at, my husband's car is almost 13 years old at this point, and it's only valued at like $1,500. Like, it is not worth a lot. So we're like, okay, do we need to be paying for all this coverage? Like, if it were to get wrecked, we just would want to replace it. We don't care about a repair. We would just buy a new car. So looking at, can you change your coverage? Can you also talk to them like, hey, if you aren't going to give us a better rate, we're going to switch to somebody else who will. And a lot of insurance companies will probably end up giving you a better rate to keep a customer. But there's a lot of companies that will do good deals, whether, you know, you're a good driver. Also bundling your home and auto insurance, like bundle as much as you can. We are saving hundreds of dollars every month because our home and our auto insurance policies are bundled together. So I highly encourage you, look and see if your insurance companies can give you any better rates. That is something that we did. And we even shopped around whenever my husband was a stay-at-home dad, and we were just looking like, are there better car companies or car insurance companies out there? But for, even though they would give us some discount, well, we didn't want to, we already have our home insurance set with our car insurance company. And we're like, you know, we're already getting a really good deal, and it's just going to be a hassle. Things are going to come unbundled, and we're probably not going to save as much money in the long run. So definitely check that out and see where you can save. The third tip that I would give you is to switch your phone plans. You would not believe how much money you can save if you go to a different service provider for your phone. I used to use AT&T just because that's what I grew up with my family using, and my husband was the same way. And so whenever we got married and we switched to our own phone plan, I think just my phone alone was $90 a month. And yes, I was on like the unlimited data, but I think when we looked at it, if I went to just like a plan where there was a cap on the data, it was only going to save like $10 or $20 a month. Like, it wasn't going to save a lot. And then once we added my husband to the phone plan, it was $150 a month. Like, that is so much money when you really think about it, for two people that don't do a lot of calling and texting because we're Gen Z and people that don't really get out of the house and aren't using a lot of data. Like, we were paying so much money. So in December of 2023, we switched to Mint Mobile, which is on T-Mobile's network. And we calculated it, and we are saving $1,200 a month. Or sorry, not $1,200 a month. Oh my gosh, that would be crazy. $1,200 a year we are saving. That's $100 every single month. And back in December, they were doing a deal where if you buy 3 months, you get 3 months free. So with Mint Mobile, you do have to pay in advance. You pay for like the whole, you can, I think there's 3-month plans, 6 months, and then 12-month plans. And you get to choose what you want. If you do a 12-month, which is what my husband and I did in June this past year, whenever our 6-month plan was over, we switched to a 12-month. And once you get to that one, you can choose if you want to pay in full or if you want to pay like every 3 months. So now we are both just on a 5G plan since we really don't leave the house, and we pay $90 for both of us every 3 months. So y'all do the math there. We're paying like $360 a year for us to have phones, which is absolutely insane. So I definitely recommend Mint Mobile. This is not an ad or sponsor by any means. This is just a very happy customer testimonial. We've experienced no issues with service or anything like that since switching to them. And I think that we have a referral link that I can put in the description. I think it gives us like $100 off. It gives you $100 off. So obviously there's a kickback for us, but I need to check because it's all like in my husband's name. So I'll have him log in and I'll grab that referral code. If we are still available with it, I know for sure we had it in December last year, but if it's still available, you will find it in the description below. If it's not in the description, then I'm sorry, we weren't able to offer it anymore, but they're always running super great deals, especially if you're a new customer. You get to keep your phone. It was a very simple process to switch our phone plans over. My husband did it all in just a couple hours, so I highly recommend it for the amount of money that you are going to be saving on your phone plans. The fourth one goes into checking your subscriptions. So you need to make sure you sit down, and this will be helpful when you sit down and make your budget, but see what you're paying for and figure out either what you can eliminate. So cancel those subscriptions if you don't really use those things anymore. Like if you're not really using Netflix or Hulu or whatever, Apple TV, I don't know. And then see where you can cut costs. So if you are paying for Netflix, are you paying for their highest level subscription? Can you go back down like a level or two? Same with Hulu. Are you paying, I think it's like Hulu live TV or whatever? Like, do you really need the live TV? Can you just go down to a basic subscription? And just kind of look at what that looks like for you. My husband and I cut back on some subscriptions. We were paying for a couple of streaming services, and we found we're not really using them as much, so we stopped using them. And then once a show comes out on that service that we really want to watch, we'll start it back up. But if we're not going to be using it every day, then we just won't use it. And then we also switched. This was really early on in our marriage before kids, but we both had Spotify accounts. We switched to Spotify Duo. And I think I was looking, and don't take my word for it, I don't know if Spotify Duo exists anymore. I think it's all just Spotify Family. But I highly recommend, like, if you use any kind of like music streaming services, look into if there are plans where like multiple people can be on the same one. And my husband and I still have our own individual accounts. Like, none of our music is like all mixed up together. It's two individual accounts just paid on one plan. And I think we pay like, I think it's now like $16 a month or something stupid. I don't know. It got like more expensive, but it used to be like $14 a month, or I don't know, something like that. So we were only paying like I think it was 14, like $4 extra versus like the single plan was like $10.99 or something like that. So definitely look and see where you can cut cost and where you can combine different subscriptions or what that looks like for you. The fifth tip that I would highly, highly recommend is stop using credit cards and pay off debt. This was something that my husband and I did at the very beginning of our marriage. Neither of us had credit cards when we got married, but we did end up going into debt because we purchased a car. And so we had a car payment, and we honestly got very much so into Dave Ramsey because we felt a lot of financial stress and anxiety when we were first married. We had no idea what we were doing. We were spending way much more than we needed to be spending on things. And we immediately got our car paid off, but we made the dumb mistake of buying another car at the beginning of this year. It was my mom car, a Toyota Highlander. I was like, this is my mom car. I'm going to keep it for years. And we did put a pretty good down payment on it, but we were paying it for it as a monthly payment. And it gave us so much stress and anxiety. So we immediately just tried to hunker down, and we did pay it off, which there's a whole story behind that. But we paid it off because we did not want to have any debt. And when you have debt, you can feel it. You feel anxious about it. You feel stressed about it, because we're not meant to owe anybody. And so I highly recommend stop using debt. Stop using credit cards. You don't want to be in that case. And so I recommend get out of debt. And then you pay more when you're in debt. You're paying interest. You're not saving money. It's not helpful. And I do recommend Dave Ramsey. We found that he was very helpful getting us out of debt. He uses really great tips and a good process for that. So I definitely recommend that you check him out. But we had to get out of debt. Now, I will be transparent and say I do have one credit card. It actually has a $200 limit per month, and I only use $50 of it a month, because I basically almost had no credit when my husband and I got married, which actually hurt us whenever we were going to buy a house together. after we've been married for a couple of years. And so I was like, okay, well, I need to get a credit card because eventually our goal is to only stay in our current house for like 5 years max and then relocate to a better school system. And so I was like, I have to build my credit because we weren't able to both be on the mortgage for our house. So everything was only in his name. It also means that like it was based off his income. So like my income wasn't counting to our monthly payment and the approval process. Like it was a whole thing. So thankfully, like we were still able to get our house, but we know for in the future, we want my income to be able to be included on that. And it can only be that way because your interest rate is based on the person with the lowest credit. And so because I was still building my credit when we were looking for a house, it was actually putting us at a much higher interest rate. So all that to say, I do have a credit card. It does have a $200 limit, and I pretty much only use it like to fill up my gas tank like once, and then I'm done for the rest of the month. And then I have it on auto pay. So I only spend the money that I actually already have in my bank account so that I'm never like paying interest or fees or anything like that. This very last tip is super simple, but it is to use coupon apps or reward apps because you can get so much money off on things or end up like making money or getting gift cards for things when you use these kinds of apps. There's things like Ibotta, Honey is an extension that you can get like on your computer. There's so many different things out there. So definitely like look around, see what you want to get. I also really like using Target's app because a lot of times they'll do things like if you spend $75 on diapers, then you get a $15 gift card. I'm like, okay, as a mom, I'm literally like, that's how much I feel like I'm spending at least once a month. Like I can get a $15 gift card every time I go and get diapers. So definitely like look around, always look for the best deals, especially if it's something that is out of the ordinary that you're buying. Like I said, like diapers, or if you have to get like home products, like I know a lot of people recommend just going to like Dollar General or something like that. Like definitely look around. You can get so many good deals and coupons, and then also check out rewards apps. This one I am going to give y'all a referral link to. It is for an app called Fetch. If you're not using it already, you need to check it out. I think I've been using mine for probably 6 years now. But all you do is you upload a receipt, any receipt. It could be e-receipt or a physical receipt, and you get at least 25 coins per receipt. And then sometimes like brands will do deals where like, I think I saw lately General Mills is like, if you spend $8, then we'll give you 1,000 coins. So it's all based on like the products you're buying. And if none of the products fit like their deals, then you just get 25 coins. But you get coins, and then after certain amounts, there's like different benchmarks. Like you can basically cash it out for gift cards. And there's stuff on there like I've seen Dick's Sporting Goods and Amazon and AMC Theaters, like I think Applebee's, like basically like all these restaurants, all these different shops and everything, like they're all on there. And so you can stack them all up and you can get like a $50 gift card, or I think like the lowest you can cash it out for is maybe like a $20 gift card or something like that for like less coins. So I really recommend it. I love using it. And I am going to put my referral down there. And I think if you use it, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's like 1,000 coins each that we would get. So it's a really great start. I highly recommend it. And it's like, it's free to you. Like all you have to do is just upload the receipts to the things that you're already buying. So those are all the tips that I have. Those are the things that my husband and I have done in the process of going down to a smaller income so that we can steward our money well, live comfortably, and still say yes to the things that are important to us or would create really fun moments for our family. In the description, I'm also going to link an article. It's from NerdWallet, and it is an article that my husband and I used whenever he was a stay-at-home dad, and we read through it, and they have so many tips, and it's all kind of broken down by like categories and the types of bills that you pay, but it goes through how you can cut down your cost in those areas and hopefully lower your bills. So I really recommend reading through that article. It's like 43 ways to save on these bills. So definitely a little bit more in depth than this podcast episode was today, but I just really wanted to share some overview, very brief, very practical things that you can do to start saving money, whether you're on a single income because you're a stay-at-home mom, or if you're on a smaller income because you work some part-time. But it's really my heart to help alleviate stress for you in this area, because financial stress is not fun and you can feel it. It takes a toll on you, and you deserve to be showing up as your best self financially. So I hope that this was beneficial for you today, and make sure you stay tuned for next week as I'm going to share practical ways that you can save money at the grocery store so that you don't have to be spending hundreds of dollars every single week whenever you're shopping. If you enjoyed this episode or found it helpful, please take a moment to leave a written review on Apple Podcasts so that we can help to reach other mamas who are in need of encouragement and guidance to show up as their best selves. And make sure that you also take a minute to subscribe or follow my podcast on Spotify or Apple so that you don't miss out on the future episodes. I hope that you have a wonderful week, and remember, you are loved, you are valued, and you are chosen. See you next week, Mama.